There we go, Doug, and 3, 2, 1. Well, Mayor Diny, welcome back to Mayor's Monday here at WSAU, WSAU.com. A lot going on this week. Obviously, you're in budget season right now. There's been a lot of talk about the budget already. Give us an idea of what you know right now as far as how the numbers are looking and what people can maybe expect in a couple of weeks when that comes to the council for consideration.
Sure. So our goal we have on the calendar is November 11th for the public hearing, and then maybe that night even approval or adoption by the council. So I did my part. I brought which is required by the statute, a balanced budget. Actually, it's not required that I put a balanced budget forward, but this year we did. So we deviated from last year. Rather than give the long laundry list of possible cuts that ended up getting, maybe sensationalized out there in the news. So staff decided we would make those priorities and present a balanced budget, which we did. And there were a few items like the pools that were suggested by the Parks Director. So rotating one pool or cutting hours. And I forgot the other one. Animal control. So council, the finance committee had a little bit of a issue and some pushback on that. So right now we're in the process of trying to either remedy that or find solutions where they can maybe reset their priorities based on what that finance committee and the council might want. So you'll see that play out in a couple of days. I guess the unfortunate part is no matter which way you go with it, we're not going to make everyone happy. And I think what this particular exercise is going to do is force council to make some tough decisions. Because really we with staff, hours and hours and hours, we had at least 4 directors meetings specific to the budget. Then we had one-on-ones with directors. So for example, the Parks Director came in with the pool closer. She came in with cutting fountains and different things. We decided on what the priority would be, and obviously that particular one is not popular. But it's a budget cut that every director met, and I would like to think in a $7 million parks budget we could find a way for a $30,000 pool to stay open longer. So that's I guess at the end of the day, there's some hysteria around it, but there's really less hysteria than what's being portrayed out there. It's a simple process. We have 2 items in the budget that are a little bit concerning to alders, so we'll figure that one out.
If you have 2 items in a budget of how
48
many
million in the levy, right?
Yeah, how many items? I think you're doing all right.
Oh, I think so. Sure. And, and I guess the other thing, to throw in there, we've got an election coming up. So there are alders right now who are concerned, some of the spending we put in place previous councils ago, say 3, 4, 5 years ago, torpedoes have been put in the water then. And those are expenses that are coming our way that sitting here right now, we can't necessarily control short of some drastic measure like reducing the service or going out for a referendum. But we've known for 5 years that 12 firefighters were put on the books or at least hired on SAFER grants and ARPA grants. So that money is sunsetting, yet there was not a plan originally to figure out how to sunset that. Or if there was, it wasn't spoken until I got here, and I think I used the term ticking time bomb. Mike Martins last night called it a fiscal cliff. So there's different terms for it. The city of Brookfield, for example, they were a year ahead of us on the SAFER grant. They hired, and their money ran out. So they had to go to referendum sooner, which they did this year, April of 25. It failed. So now they are in a $4 million structural deficit, meaning they're $4 million short of what they're committed to spending, and now potentially adding another 3, so they'd be 7 million short. And they're a city of 42, 43,000, our size. That's huge. We're looking to probably only have to make up $1.5 million. Still big in a budget our size, but I think this is the focus that I've been trying to convey, is that this short-term fixes that we've been going through year over year over year, and this year to be included, is good, and it gets us through the budget. But we've got to start looking long-term. We've got to look at 5 years down the road, and we've done a little bit of that already. And I can tell you that report will be coming out to council too. For the next 5 years, year over year over year, debt is growing and growing and growing, and we can't stop it because of all of what we've discussed coming down the pike. We have lead service lines commitments. There's a $6 million contribution by the city each year. Even though we're putting in $18 million worth of lead service lines, the city's on the hook, and residents are getting it for free. The city's on the hook for $6 million of that. So ultimately, that isn't free for every citizen, because it's going to come in the form of taxes and water rates. That's just a fact of life. So there's another one. Can we continue to afford to borrow $6 million a year on lead service when we have, by the DNR standards, upwards of 10 to 13 years to replace these lines?
Mm-hmm. So, and you kind of brought up one of the other things I was going to ask you about, which is the potential for a referendum. We've obviously kind of learned about that last week during budget talks. What stage are these discussions in right now? Because obviously, if the city is going to do something and put that question to voters, it's got to be done by the end of January.
Right. So if it were to go on in April, a ballot, it would have to, there's like a 70-day window prior to that. In an ideal world, we would have been able to plan ahead, cut ahead, get the right structure, the org structure, so that we could have eased into this over 5 years. That didn't happen. So we're faced with that, or we're faced with trying to find other revenue streams, or we are faced with reorganizing that department. So, I mean, there's really only 3 ways to get there, and it'll be up to the council. And this is a burden that they need to share in. What are their residents telling them? And then we are looking to hire potentially a consultant to help us walk through that process and understand, is this the right thing at the right time? Have we thought of everything? And council's going to have to make that decision very soon. And their citizen input, of course. I'm always in favor of direct citizen involvement in the form of like a referendum on a lot of things. I just want to make sure that it's done in a fashion that residents understand that we're also being responsible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know one of the things that the department, obviously they want to keep this staffing level. They want to keep the level of service. One of the things that the department might look at this and say is, we're letting the residents decide what level of service they're getting. And, we don't know exactly what a referendum like this will mean to a typical tax bill. But if it's, $40 or $50 for some resident, you let them decide if that investment is worthwhile for their household. So I'm sure that's one thing that is going to be emphasized here if this does come through.
Sure, and that's part of the calculation. You obviously, if I asked you for $1,000 you'd probably choke on your tax bill. If it's $40, $50, that may be more palatable. But we're in an environment right now where inflation is heavy. People are strapped, asking for more money, and referendums. That's a dicey thing. We've seen about a 50% success rate around the state. Other cities are in the same spot. Like I mentioned, Marshfield did one, Brookfield. Yeah. A couple others out there. We know of 6 or 8 that have done them, and a roughly 50-50 chance, or 50-50 success on those. So I think it's largely going to depend on what that looks like to the resident. Is it a good value proposition? And if so, and I think that's what a consulting will help us determine. And I think if we can get to that point, then we can the council then can make an informed decision on moving forward with that.
So before we let you go, then obviously
Get some good news.
Yeah, let's grow the tax base a little bit here. How about that?
Yeah.
I think that helps everybody. Foundry on Third, we're near the grand opening.
We are.
Right.
The 23rd of October is the ribbon cutting grand opening. It's coming along very nicely. The landscaping's coming together. Some of the grass probably will start to green up. Maybe we've got some decent weather yet for a few weeks. Washington Street is now two-way, both ways, from 1st to 5th. So, if you out and about, come on downtown and check it out. You'll be able to check out the Foundry, and then come down 3rd and check out our great businesses along 3rd Street. So I think this is going to be a real shot in the arm. It's a catalyst project. It really is. I think Jefferson Street will be opening soon, so you'll be able to drive in past there and up to Children's Imaginarium. So it's just going to be cool.
Yeah, and the one that I drive by every day as well, the West Side Commons on the Battery site. Tell you what, watching that come together in the last 18 months or so has been really fun as well. Getting a little bit of a snapshot every couple of days as to what a construction project looks like, at least from my perspective anyway. But those are two projects long awaited. That, again, puts money back on the tax roll, right?
That's one of the fastest buildings I've seen in town come up. And I understand that inspections has just given them, or in the process of giving them, the occupancy certificate. So you'll start seeing people in there very soon, enjoying the river and the new digs and great new location along our entry into the downtown area.
Now, and for me being an analytics guy, my instinct is to say, okay, now the tax value of both of those projects minus the 10-11% that you take off for the TIF, right? What does that actually add to the city's coffers? Do you have that number in front of you right now?
I don't have that number for the combined, but I can tell you that, always a controversial issue is the TID districts. So the two LIHTC ones involve other credits. So they are, those are federal credits, and we get 30% of their valuation. So I think that one, between the two of them, they're like $12 million a piece. So we'll be getting the taxes on about $4 million in addition. So you can figure that one out on the commercial rate. And then the Foundry, there's a TID contribution there as well, but it will be income to the city.
That's the important part, right?
Well, the other important part is you're going to have feet on the street downtown generating business for our local businesses down there. A lot of them have been waiting and for the day that opens, because they know it's going to boost business. So maybe we'll be able to add some business. Well, you talk about last time, I think we talked about the cobblery on the corner there. That'll be soon converted into, what do they call that? They'll have a rooftop
restaurant bar.
Think about that and have just more people, and that's what we need, feet on the street.
Absolutely. Well, I always appreciate the time, Doug, and we'll look forward to chatting again next month.
All right, Michael. See ya.